Whether either side likes to admit it, in this latest round of the West and the Islamic world sort of circling each other warily, maybe giving a few nasty, steely looks at each other, which is really all that's happened. No one's actually suggested that there's any serious repercussions to come out of all this, except Thunderfoot, of course. Sorry, I had to do that. What this really illustrates is we now can at least in some way grasp that the two sides are very far apart on the issue of how free speech is exercised. I don't think either side really has anything against free speech. I just think that each side has a very different way in which the concept of free speech should be applied to our society. Whether we like it or not, the West has certain things that they believe should not be said in public, and if the law has to enforce that, well, then that's fine. That's just too bad. You don't have the right to say that openly. By the same token, the Islamic world has certain, I hate to use this term, but it kind of works, sacred cows, with apologies to Hindus for that term. I know that they're not really sacred, but the way that term has come down to us, which you simply cannot tolerate other people saying. Now, the problem is, the legal systems of both of these sides are completely different. And my understanding is, in most of the Islamic world, in fact, I've seen a little bit of evidence to this, you can pretty much slag off Israel to your heart's content. You can discuss openly the big Jewish conspiracy that's controlling America and the West and that kind of thing. Stuff that would land you in court immediately here in the West is spoken of quite openly. You can buy copies of the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion in newsstands in a great many parts of the Islamic world. Just watch what happens if you try and peddle that here in a bookstore. You'd go out of business very rapidly. People just wouldn't want anything to do with you. By the same token, watch what happens when somebody does something which we believe is innocuous, like putting the Prophet Muhammad in a bear suit. That really hurts the feelings of the world's Muslims, or a large number of them. Now, somehow, that gulf between my free speech and your free speech, i.e. what I mean by free speech and what you mean by free speech, has to be acknowledged, that we're far apart. We're not going to make a billion of the world's Muslims suddenly think, after a millennium, that it's okay to make fun of the Prophet Muhammad. If you ask me, they are adapting with amazing rapidity due to the increasingly non-strident response one sees. I think that they're sort of saying, we can't stop them from doing this. If there's a billion of us, how many billions of them are them? There's the internet out there. They can publish whatever they want. There's nothing we can do about it. What do we do about this helplessness to enforce our belief, or to at least illustrate our offense or hurt when this kind of thing happens? Thoughtful Muslims, I'm sure, are in a dialogue on this. The reality is, it's not going to stop. The reality also is, whenever it is done in the West, whoever does so better count on the fact that out of the billion Muslims, there might be a handful that are just basic whack jobs who might express that hurt which most Muslims feel at that kind of thing taking place in a pretty crazy way. I'm not saying that I know any solution out of this mess, or out of this log jam. It's not really a mess. I think that we can probably work it out. But the first thing that we have to do is to accept the reality of the situation. We have to accept that the world's Muslims, or the majority or a huge number of the world's Muslims, will continue to take deep offense and feel deep hurt whenever their religious symbols, whenever their important symbols are ridiculed in this manner. And that probably the overwhelming majority of Muslims probably simply look at this and say, why do they feel the need to do this? Not let's kill them all. It's just, I don't understand what it is among white people that makes them want to do this. To the fact that we have in our culture, our sense is not only do we have to have a culture of free speech, but we must exhibit our free speech in strident ways. Our free speech means nothing if I can only say what's acceptable. Okay. So there's the chasm. We've got to deal with that. The first step is to acknowledge that it's there. And it's not going away. That's the lessons of South Park. That's the lessons of Salman Rushdie. That's the lessons of Theo van Gogh. Rest his soul. Thank you.